If I asked you to guess what the world record is for the most amount of people who committed suicide in a single cult, what would you guess? 50? 100? 400? Try 900 suicides in a single day. In 1978, almost 1,000 people committed suicide by drinking cyanide poison. Although some victims were forced to drink the poison at gunpoint, most voluntarily chose to commit suicide, all at the urging of one man, Jim Jones. Jim Jones was the founder of the People's Temple, now recognized as a cult, but to his followers, he was an incredibly charismatic political activist fighting for social justice. You see, the harsh reality is that Jonestown can happen at any given moment because of one thing that all human beings cannot go against: our biology. You see, according to Todd Rose, author of Collective Illusions and founder of Laboratory of Science for Individuality in Harvard's Graduate School of Education, there are two fundamental characteristics to human nature: the need for acceptance by our in-group and the profound fear of being ostracized. The truth is, we are most likely to conform when we fear being ostracized by our in-group, and Jim Jones knew this truth. He provided disenfranchised, mostly African American people with a sense of community, buying a plot of land in Guyana he called Jonestown, then threatening to ostracize anyone who disagreed with him and the group. Jones was so effective at fabricating acceptance and ostracism that even when the whole world was catching wind of widespread reports of abuse happening within Jonestown, residents said the following when interviewed by the local news.
Place in which to live. Are you happy here?
Oh, I should say I am. I've never been any happier in my life.
You want to stay?
Definitely. I certainly do.
And you girls, what about you?
I love staying here. I'm getting trained in obstetrics. I'm a laboratory technician. I find my work here very fulfilling. I love it here.
I like this place much better, and I won't want to go back there. I just like to be here with the rest of my friends and stuff.
You're happy here.
I'm very happy here. It's the best place I've ever been.
And you?
I wouldn't want to leave here because I have, it's really nice here, and I have, got a good education here and got a lot of friends here. I like it here a lot.
Perhaps it's not surprising that we fear ostracism from our loved ones, but what about from strangers? Well, research shows that our own experience confirms that we also fear being ostracized by people we don't even know. According to a study done by Purdue University, research participants who played cyberball and experienced ostracism while in a magnetic resonance image scanner showed activation in the same area of the brain that is activated when people experience physical pain. In other words, ostracism, regardless of its source, triggers an immediate response that directs the person to stop and pay attention to what's going on. Now, let's go one step further. We know that we fear being ostracized by strangers, but what about a group of people we actually dislike? Surely being excluded in this context shouldn't hurt, right? Well, in a publication titled "The KKK Won't Let Me Play Ostracism Even by a Despised Outgroup Hurts," researchers examined whether ostracism by a particular type of outgroup, a despised outgroup, was sufficient to inflict emotional distress. The authors manipulated ostracism using cyberball and found that ostracized participants reported lower levels of belonging, self-esteem, control, a meaningful existence, and more negative mood compared with participants who did not experience ostracism. Thomas Gilovich, a professor of psychology at Cornell University whose research is in social psychology and decision-making, discovered that when people lie, they tend to overestimate the extent to which others can discern their internal states, and that liars therefore tend to overestimate the detectability of their lies, and that people believe their feelings of disgust are more apparent than they actually are, finding that, on average, they predicted that 44% of their fellow players would detect their deception. In fact, only 32.4% did so. What this study is essentially saying is our bullshit detector is so sensitive, we assume others are quote-unquote onto us when really less people know we're lying than we assume. Another interesting and even more bleak research finding proves that when it comes to conforming, we are so helpless in our tendency to neglect the truth that we are even capable of seeing what other people are seeing, given enough pressure. In other words, our tendency to conform is so powerful that masses of people can actually make us hallucinate at an individual level. Experts on this subject call this phenomenon controlled hallucination. In a paper, researchers used functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, and a task of mental rotation in the context of peer pressure to investigate the neural basis of individualistic and conforming behavior in the face of wrong information. The results? Conformity was associated with functional changes in the occipital parietal network, and that independence was associated with increased amygdala and caudate activity. What's this mean? It means that when test subjects disagreed with what others saw, not only did the fear part of their brain light up, but they actually had a deep physical change in visual perception. When I came across this research paper, I immediately asked myself, is it possible that conformity matters more than reality? Is it possible that reality doesn't matter? If our drive for belonging is so powerful and the fear of ostracism is our greatest fear, how can we stay true to our values and our beliefs? How can we inoculate ourselves from mindless conformity? And more importantly, how can we act from a place of principle instead of a place of compliant cowardice? There are 3 principles that can function as conformity antidotes. These are being congruent, practicing Cheng, and most difficult of all, trusting in the goodness of people even if they are your quote-unquote enemy. Carl Rogers was a humanistic psychologist and a major contributor to psychotherapy. He coined the term congruent to mean the alignment of a person's inner experiences and outward behaviors, which is to say, one who is congruent walks the walk and talks the talk. In contrast, incongruence refers to a discrepancy between the actual experience of the organism and the self-picture of the individual insofar as it represents that experience. Essentially, to be incongruent is to be in conflict with oneself. As Todd Rose explains, incongruent people must, quote, work hard to maintain their dishonest self-concept. So maybe the century-old adage, practice what you preach, just might have been around for a reason. What this adage is getting at a neurological level, is something so profound that it's rooted in science. In 2006, a journalist by the name of Steve Silberman joined a study with Columbia University to essentially find out if brain scans are reinventing the science of lie detection. In the scan involving the truthful internal monologue, the parts of the brain associated with fear were quiet, whereas when he was lying, parts of the brain associated with emotion, conflict, and cognitive control were on fire. So what's this mean? It appears that the state of incongruence marked by self and other deception causes inner turmoil. And as social creatures who need to belong to a group, we are most prone to engaging in deception when we fear being ostracized. To counteract this basic tendency, Carl Rogers proposed that we garner a radically realistic, honest, and independent self-esteem divorced from the opinions of others. Again, from Todd Rose, a congruent person is someone who is open, sincere, accepting, empathetic, and genuine. When you are living congruently and according to your personal values, you experience more satisfaction with your life. You become happier. But here's the thing, becoming personally congruent is not the only weapon we have to arm ourselves with. If we want to fight the temptation of thoughtless conformity, we have to go one step further than congruence and make our way east. In 6th century BC, a Chinese philosopher by the name of Confucius contributed to an age-old idea called Cheng. Cheng goes beyond the individual and essentially erases all boundaries between oneself, others, and the universe. In an article called Western Sincerity and Confucian Cheng, a Clemson researcher by the name of Yan Mingan beautifully and eloquently summarizes Cheng in a social and modern context. The emphasis is put on the side of universality, a feeling of respect between two parties who differ in their understanding of social issues might ideally replace the medieval feeling of pity. The reasoning would be that no matter what you believe in, correct or incorrect in my view, you still have my respect and admiration so long as your attitude towards your belief itself is honest, and you have truly sacrificed for your belief. Here, the point is not that I accept the content of the truth in which you believe, but that I respect your attitude towards the truth. Practicing Cheng is one of the most effective antidotes for both fighting the urge to conform for the sake of belonging and for accepting others because of their commitment to the truth. Practicing Cheng and being congruent means that you are the kind of person who speaks their truth, even in the face of perceived indifferences, because to tell the truth is to honor yourself and to uphold trust in another's morality. Trust in our fellow Americans is disappointingly low nowadays. Essentially, most individuals in the US think they are more trustworthy than their neighbors. In a paper submitted in the Journal of Science titled Civic Honesty Around the Globe, researchers dropped wallets worldwide to see if bystanders would return the wallets given variable amounts of cash in the wallet. The finding? The more money people found in the wallet, the harder they tried to return the wallet. We examined the trade-off between honesty and self-interest using field experiments in 355 cities spanning 40 countries around the globe. In these experiments, we turned in more than 17,000 wallets containing varying amounts of money at public and private institutions and measured whether recipients contacted the owners to return these wallets. In their paper, you can see a graph displaying the reporting rate by country. The red dot correlates to the amount of money, and the orange corresponding to no money in the wallet. Notice that out of the countries displayed, with the exception of Peru and Mexico, the rate of the wallets reported missing increased as the currency amount increased. In essence, in virtually all countries, citizens were more likely to return wallets that contained more money. Neither non-experts nor professional economists were able to predict this result. The finding baffles all of us because it is simply a collective illusion that people are untrustworthy. According to Populous, a research company founded by Todd Rose, whose mission, among other things, is to, quote, reduce the distorting effects of social influence commonly found in traditional public opinion research. A nationally representative sample of over 2,600 racially, ethnically diverse American adults, researchers asked people from all walks of life to determine a successful life. They found that at a personal level, people in general rank these values in the following top 5 hierarchy. Enjoys their work, is a parent, is financially dependent from others, is on track for a secure retirement, and does work that has a positive impact on other people. Now here's the interesting part. When asked to rank where other Americans think these values rank, here's what they said. Does work that has a positive impact on other people? They thought other Americans would rank this at 32. Is on track for a secure investment? They thought other Americans would rank this at 13. Is financially dependent from others? Ranked at number 8. Is a parent? Ranked at 37. And enjoys their work? Ranked all the way at 52. And if we actually rank the top 5 out of the 61 values of success according to what they think others think success means, we get a laughably bleak picture of our neighbors. Number 1, is rich, a value of which is ranked at 45 at a personal level, owns a lot of luxury items, a value of which is ranked at 61 at a personal level, is famous, 59, has an advanced degree, ranked at 52, is a graduate of an elite college or university, ranked at 58 at a personal level. Now, I haven't read many scientific articles, but this one is absolutely the most hopeful one I've seen yet, because it proves that we are full of shit. And since we are full of shit, we might as well be true to ourselves, because it seems like most people are merely living through the lies of a collective illusion, consciously or subconsciously believing that things will never get better, that people aren't to be trusted, that we are more divided now more than ever, on and on. But in the concluding words to Todd Rose's Collective Illusions, the truth is, there is nothing we cannot solve together. We already have the answers to our social problems hiding in plain sight. We're not as divided as we're told. We share common values. We are trustworthy, and we want the best for each other. When we recognize our own private power, commit to congruence, and stand up publicly for what we believe, we can dispel the fog of collective illusions and live up to the promise of a better society.